Hello! Yay! Welcome to the first episode of Small Scale Chatter. This is my theme tune. I've decided right now. Yay! Oh, excellent. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this first episode, Small Scale Chatter, with our guest today, Annie from Bad Squiddo Games.
My empire.
The empire.
Like this empire background that's brilliant.
So, Small Scale Chatter is a brand new miniatures community web show / interview / podcast that is going to be happening once a fortnight on a Wednesday evening with different guests within the miniatures community. So they can be people that own businesses, people that create models, sculptors, people that paint miniatures. Everyone is invited to come along and talk about their passion with me here on the channel. Yay! Yay! This channel is sponsored by my Patreon. So all the money that I get from Patreon goes back into the channel to help me buy cool equipment and buy subscriptions so that I can upgrade my stuff for Podbean. So when it goes out in audio, I'm currently trying to get to 100 followers so that I can upgrade some stuff, which would be super awesome. So
do it.
Come along. Right. Here's a link to it, just in case you was wondering. Boom. So that's my Patreon. You can come and join from as little as £2 a month. Just £2. You can help me out. It'll be super cool. Hello, everyone in the chat. We've already got people saying hello. It's Andy. It's Paul. Felicity. Yay! Oh, yes. Yay! We've got, lovely people hanging out. Please do use the chat. You are welcome to ask questions as we go through this. I will bring them up on screen so that myself and Annie can answer them. Probably should aim them at Annie, I guess, because she's my guest, rather than at me. Yes, talk about Annie. Let's introduce her. Annie.
Hello.
Why did I invite you onto this cast?
Thank you for making me the number one guest. Start it with a bang. I am Annie from Bad Squiddo Games, and I'm on a spinny chair, so I do apologise because I'm going to be spinning. We produce female miniatures in 28mm. The general theme of them all is that they mostly wear clothes, which is unusual for the war games industry. But they're generally just dressed for the job that they're doing. The key phrase sort of being, would the miniature dress themselves like that? Or would they sort of, if you look down with a little magnifier onto them, would they be going, this isn't fair? It's generally the guide. We also produce Bad Squiddo Scenics, which is totally the best range of little scenic bits and bobs for your tabletop. So we do lots of cool stuff. And are based in Nottingham. Leadbelt.
The best place.
It's going to be
awesome. I like that they're all like little hand sculpted things. You can feel them. They just feel nice and like chunky and like they've been made with love.
Yes, they're like little craft things.
Yes. There's some excellent range there. If you're looking for terrain pieces for your war games or your next diorama, that's where you should be going. Bad Squiddo. Link.
We do so many critters as well. So little cute things, like little guinea pigs, bunnies, capybaras, little hedgehogs, little owls, all the little cute things, and then the scary things a little bit too.
Yeah, there's some ghosts and ghouls.
Oh, there's no geese yet. We need geese. We definitely need geese.
Right, so I was going to start this interview by doing the Annie origin story, and then I realised that like everyone does the Annie origin story. How did Bad Squiddo Games come apart? And it's like everyone already knows it, and if you don't know it, there are like loads of interviews out there with loads of really cool people who have rehashed that story. We're here today to not tell the Annie origin story. We are here to talk about new stuff that's coming up. So the newest thing that's coming out with you is these community miniatures.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about what this actually is, how it came to be, and how people can maybe get involved with it?
So it's a little bit experimental, so I'm very intrigued about it. But it's already gone way more than I thought it would. But basically, I wanted something that wasn't like a Kickstarter is a very big project, and it tends to be a lot of things. You usually have to invest quite a lot beforehand, and it can take up a lot of time, energy. And I kind of wanted something in between. And a lot of people are asking for specific women from history, and that takes more time and money than doing ranges, because it's down to like the research that you've got to do. You can't just if I do a lot of research, say for example on Soviet women in World War II, that'll take me a long time, but then I'll be able to get all of these minis out of it. But if it's just one particular person, I have to learn all about that, all about that time zone, what was going on in the time, the fashion, all of that just for one mini. And then, of course, it's more money to produce one-offs due to sculpting costs. But I was getting frustrated because people are always like, make this mini, make this one. I'm like, there's so much enthusiasm. And just like, Bad Squiddo is doing really well, but we're still a small company and it's still like, really tight budgets for everything. And there's a lot of sort of misunderstanding on, obviously, how much minis cost. So the Community Miniatures project was so that it would turn my frustration into excitement. Yay. When people he's in the roof today. So when people kind of, it means that a little bit like Kickstarter, you can have a say, you can get involved, and it's already felt way more involved than a Kickstarter, which is it's nice. So the premises is that you vote for people that you would like Bad Squiddo to make. There's a few rounds of voting. You get to campaign, which is fun because it means you get to teach each other about who ladies are and sort of go, I want this lady to win. So that, then you can post about reasons why she's cool. And then whoever's won, that will be the next designated community miniature. But to get her made is the next step. You need to pay for her up front. Yep. Same way as you would a Kickstarter. So you're not just throwing money away. You're basically pre-ordering it. So once I get to a certain point, I'm using Ko-fi as the website for this, which seems to be working quite well. So once we reach a certain point, that mini is in the bag. So then that will be made. The point I've put for them all is £250, which is not how much it costs. It costs more, but £250 I think is nice and attainable for people. It's taken a chunk of the cost out there, and it means we can finish the rest up. And yeah, so as a general, each one £250. Once we hit that, bam. I thought it would be about one miniature per 1 mini per month-ish, and I think we unlocked 6 in a month or something. I was like, I don't know, I haven't made a figure yet. What's happening? What you can also do is pay for subscription, which means you can forget about it and just chuck. So they're a £5, but also you can just chuck £1 in now and again if you want. And instead of there being an end point, because we're just going to keep going, I want it to go on forever, basically, because it's just going to be a new sideline. It's not going to take place of anything else we're doing. It's in addition. And yeah, it just means that you can just sort of keep putting money in the pot. And then once we've actually got some of the minis in production, which I'm hoping shouldn't be too long, it's just been a very busy time. So there's all this to sort of manage. And I really didn't expect there to be this many already, which is cool. So you basically just cash out whenever you want. And you can use whatever you've put into the project to spend on the project. So if you missed a mini, for example, like we're on community number 7 at the moment, and if you went, but I want number 1, you can put money in now, which will help number 7, and then you can just go and buy number 1. Or if you change your mind, you're like, oh, that one's cooler. You can get that. That's the general gist of it. So also, once that mini wins, you get to help design the mini as well, which is currently the most testing process for me, as it's normally something. It's normally something between me and the sculptor, and I might have someone else helping me depending on what it is. But now that the process is public, this is quite trying to get my head around it, because there's so many I guess it's like anything when you go from doing it in private to public. I'm like, oh no, so I'm really self-conscious about it. So that was a bit tough at first, but I'm getting into the swing of it now. Just sort of because there's a lot of things that people don't realize about miniatures. So you can kind of go, do this pose, Annie. This pose would be really good. Like, doesn't work as a mini, but and do this, and like maybe these details should be more details. And I'm like, we're looking at it this big on the screen. But the mini's going to be this big.
Yeah.
So but it's really good because it means people are learning about the miniatures making process along the way, and it's really involved, and that's why it's the community miniatures project. I'm really excited about that. That's
the most interesting is that like trying to learn how the sculptors obviously make the miniature and make it best for the casters as well, so that it doesn't involve like loads of bits being stuck together, because that's like one of the good things about your miniatures is that it's normally just a miniature. You don't have to really stick things unless they've got a spear or something in their hand. Like it's a one thing. You don't have to be like, oh dang it, now I've got to stick this bit of metal to this bit of metal.
Metal that sticks together. The multi-part metal models are just I'm not a fan, so I tend to not make things that I'm not a fan of. Occasionally you have to have a couple more pieces, but we'll never be that sort of company where you've got the wrist to join and then half the hand to join and a bit of the hat glues on and you just It's generally my experience when I've tried to paint those models. I tend to give up. So as part of Bad Squiddo's thing is we make minis that I like. I like this. This annoys me. So let's make this and see if other people like this, which they do. The other thing is it's been interesting, though frustrating for me, but again, in that good learning way, where people are very, very like, well, this is the historical way. This is how it would be. But trying to sort of teach people about how, although we try and make the minis as historically accurate as possible, where there's bits where you don't quite know for sure, you can go with the rule of cool a bit. So it's got to be historical, but it's also got to make a great miniature that people are going to want to buy. Because a lot of the reality of some people are like, they're kind of a bit dull. Some of the characters, they could just be another person. So maybe you'll make the dress a little bit flouncier or more of a headdress than they might have had, just because then they're more, it's a representation. It's not a real, we're not shrinking her down. We're sort of putting all the symbolism of that person into a miniature. So there's a lot to it. And that's going to be interesting sort of going through with people. We've unlocked 6 so far. I think we're nearly unlocking the 7th.
Who have we
unlocked? Monologue there. Monologuing. We have unlocked.
Yes.
We've got Zenobia, Queen Zenobia, although I've been calling her Empress Zenobia in respect. Queen of Palmyra, who is my favourite so far. Actually, no. Each time I look at one, they're my new favourite. We've got Eleanor of Aquitaine, who I recently learned earlier, though she is famous for a lot of other things, such as leading a crusade and being multi-queen. She is actually credited for the introduction of built-in fireplaces. That is the sort of thing you hear on this show and you don't get anywhere else. Other people would still be asking me about how I got into the hobby, but here we are, learning about fireplaces. It's the show. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe
to find out more about fireplaces and the women that made them.
Oh, that's a niche show. Welcome to Fireplaces. Oh, that could be. I'd be up for that. So we've also got Agnes Randolph, who helped. What was she? Duchess of Dunbar and something else. She's a good siege leader. She makes a cool mini. She's got some cool, like Princess Leia bun things going on. Because also what they did and also what they look like is always cool. Harriet Tubman, who's very famous. She was the one I was campaigning for, because I'm not allowed to vote, but I can sway people by going, you should do this one, look how cool she is. So Harriet Tubman, so she led big underground railroads freeing of the slaves, and was a very interesting character all around. And then I was super happy when I found out she carried a gun as well for miniature purposes. So she's going to be 2 guns, not finger guns though. And I need to do a finger gun miniature now. That would be cool. This is where ideas are dreamed. I've also got Qingxi, who is a awesome pirate. and pirates the heck out of pirating and has such an enormous fleet. I'm sure there was some sort of record-breaking fleet as well. And Julie Dorbanji, who is the one who comes up a lot in those sort of rejected princesses and badass women from history, who is a sword fighter, fencer, and opera singer, and famous bisexual. So she went and stole a nun at one point. Stole a nun. Had a love affair with a nun and went out of the convent. Let's go. Let's run away. And she's going to be really cool because obviously she's going to have some sort of flouncy hat, cool sort of cavalier-y style. So I'm really impressed so far that the first 6 are pretty diverse as well. Got people from all over the world, different time periods. So if this can... I think it'll take off a bit more once we start getting some of the models made, because we've got ahead of myself, basically. I thought we'd still be on 1. So yeah, once we get caught up and get some of these models made and people can sort of see the full process in action, I think that's when I'll start sharing it around a bit more. I just didn't want to get loaded with like 20 minis that we had to make before anyone made, or too many strangers, because I appreciate that it's a new concept. So I didn't want people that would be... a bit mistrusting of like, well, I've put my money in wherever, you know, like when you do a Kickstarter, it's to the wider audience. I thought if I can keep it fairly small, so I've mostly been smalling it, you're just super keen throwing money at me, which is ace. And so far nobody has complained, so that's always good. Because yeah, it's basically you're just putting money into Ko-fi. It's not Kickstarter, so I'm really glad that people have been so trusting so far and have just gone, here's money for all the minis, here's the money for the first 10. And that's really nice to know that you trust me with that. If you don't know who I am and you've come here as a fresh, you can look at my Kickstarter history. We've done like 7 or 8 now. So that's kind of like a...
Where can people vote for these?
Well...
So this is one of the votes that... one of the first votes.
It was. They were the first 2 winners, and that was the top 5 out of it all. So we're voting currently on Baggy's Cave, which is on Facebook, which I believe there's a link.
I do have a link because I am super professional.
We have all the information on the blog, which I don't know if you've put
it also
linked
yet. As well.
Okay.
Just a bit further up,
So
I did link the blog.
So the WordPress is where I kind of going to be putting all the info so it's in one place, because again, I appreciate it's on Ko-fi and Baggy's Cave, and Facebook groups are always moving about and not everyone's got Facebook, so all the info's on the blog, needs updating. But yeah, that's where you can find it all out, and you can also comment on there as well, and I can add your vote to the poll too. Join Baggy's Cave, because as well as the voting for this, it's the Bad Squiddo group. It's wicked. It's really fun. It's got a really nice group of people. Loads of you are in the comments there, being excellent people too. We talk about Bad Squiddo minis, cool women from history in general, and yeah, everyone's just really lovely. Show off your paint jobs, talk about games, pester me for minis. Make this, and now instead of going, yeah, it'd be great, I haven't got the funds, I can go put that in the next round of voting for community minis, and it might be a thing. Yeah. So I'm hoping. I know that if I was on the other side of it and I put something into the poll that won and got made into a mini, it would be the best thing in the world. So hopefully I can do that for you.
Yay.
Yay.
Is it always going to be historical figures?
Yes. Maybe. Probably. Because it's the point. The point is that I wanted to do a lot more historical minis, and we do occasionally get distracted by sci-fi, fantasy, and all sorts of stuff. And I think it's just going to work particularly well with women from history, and there's a million and millions of them. So we could get through a lot, and I think it'd just make a really awesome collection.
So I shouldn't be creating my D&D characters with their character sheet.
You can just keep pestering me about that, because I'll eventually do it. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to keep community mini for historical. Once we've got some in the bag and they're all sort of made, we're currently on the 250 for a single foot figure. But I'm going to start occasionally then throwing in mounted figures as well. Dun, dun, dun. Or maybe pairs of minis. So we could do 1 month or something. We do, which pair do you
more gay ones?
Yes, gay ones. I believe we are the only miniature manufacturer of gay minis. Probably. And if
Which
not,
is also
then
sad,
most
but also like,
gaming
yay, but
also changing it up. So yeah, things like that, new dioramas or something. But obviously, I want to keep it simple at the start. But then the sky is the limit.
Yay. Okay, we've had a couple of questions before I go on to some of my questions. We had a couple of questions in the chat. So Andrew asked, do you have any plans to do some RAF women from World War II?
This is me thinking.
Yes.
No.
No.
No, we don't. Not currently, because if you haven't seen, we do quite a few. So we've got the engineers for it's for the WAF, so the women's part of the RAF. And we've got some ATA pilots as well. So if you haven't seen them, then go check them out. But currently, we're mostly going to different parts of the world now. So we're kind of doing chunks at a time for that. So we've done loads for Britain. We're just about to have an enormous Soviet release. Then we've got Germany, which I've been researching for ages. And I still can't decide because he's always got to decide which to choose. And again, it's that like who looks really cool, but who's got viability in games and is going to sell perhaps. And then we're dabbing in a bit of America. So that's the sort of future plans for the World War II. There will be the odd Britain one in there, but I don't think, unless I find a really cool extra reason to do it, an RAF figure. No, probably not for now.
And another one, this one's from Felicity. It says, what's the mini creation process like? What happens between Annie having a cool idea for the mini, the mini arriving in my letterbox?
Have I you froze a little bit.
Oh,
yeah. So I'll be very brief because this is something that I could go on about for ages. But it's basically Annie has a cool idea. Annie researches the thing. I research the things, does a really bad sketch, which was part of my like, oh no, I now have to show my bad sketches to people that aren't and that's the whole thing, because concept sketches generally aren't as cool as the concept art you see, because it's not really concept art, it's just art. The concept art generally says, I want that there, that sort of trouser thing, but there's no need to spend a long time shading it in and all that sort of stuff, because it's just telling them where stuff's going. So I'll get that together. I'll get the text. So it'll usually be an image and text. The text may then have links to things like photographs if it's historical. It'll be like, right, that is all the details. So with the World War II, we're really thorough, because any sort of weapon, bit of kit, luckily there's just photo most of the time. I've been down all sorts of corners of the web, some of the Soviet stuff, but it's really rewarding to know that you've got it right. So yeah, it's like, here is all the gear. Here is the lady. Here is the pose. Here is the hairdo. Sculptor sculpts it. That goes to the caster, who puts it in a master mold after they check it all. So they document it as it lands to make sure that they've got a record of what the sculpt looks like. Goes in the master mold. Master usually dies or gets broken a little bit, but that's how it works. But as long as you've got a good impression in the mold, then you spend them again. So it's usually about 10 to 16 that will go into the production mold, so that when you do one spin, say it's just one character, if you do one spin, you'll get that 10 to 16 from a spin. And then obviously if it's sets. So sometimes when people say, can you split a pack? And I go, no, I can't. It's because they're in the mold. So maybe there's a pack of 4. There might be 2 sets or 3 sets of those in the same mold. Yeah. And when you spin it, that's what you get. So then the production things, then they come to me in sets, all bagged up nicely. I put them in packaging, which obviously got designer packaging as a separate bit. Get somebody to paint them, get some nice photos to put onto the packaging, although we usually release things before they're painted just because of time. But yeah, as soon as we've got the packaging, they all get to blisters, and then they go out to the shops, which we've got all around the world, and obviously stay here. Woo! For people to buy on mail order direct. That's the condensed version of it, but I'd love to do one where I go through the whole thing.
Oh, Mitch von Tyrannosaurus says, are there fictional female figures that are in the public domain that you might consider doing?
Probably. I've never really looked. I know a lot of Dracula type stuff is. So I do have a miniature Dracula, and nobody sued me yet. But I know that's sort of older stuff, so maybe that's sort of Frankenstein. But I've not
also like Jane Austen type stuff. I'm guessing is all public domain because it's
I don't know.
over 100 years old.
Some things are quite weird because their person will have passed on ages ago, but then it might be an estate. Sometimes estates own things.
I think if you can get the ebook for free on Amazon, then it's like an old book, a classic. Then it's in the public domain.
It depends on like using their name and stuff. I've looked at some weird ones. Frida Kahlo, you generally can't touch, which is weird because there's loads of knockoff merch of her. Because I thought, she'll make a really good mini. And then saw about the Frida Kahlo estate basically just suing everyone. Thought maybe I won't. But it's a whole thing. But yeah, I'm sure there are some in the public domain.
We've got Helen of Troy in the chat and Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland. They're all public domain.
Interesting. It's actually something I've not really thought much about because I've been.
Oh, you should make like a ghoulish Alice in Wonderland set.
I'm sure someone's done Zombie Alice, probably, but if not,
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
yeah, that's true.
Good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, Ryan, because Monday was International Women's Day. Woo,
get a day.
Every day is Women's Day. Remember that we are in the hobby and on your feeds every day. So don't just think because you tweeted our stuff on Monday you don't have to do it again for another year.
Yes, don't just wheel us out on the 8th of March and then put us back in a cupboard till 8th of March again and go, look how much we love women, we're going to do a spotlight on this woman. Now we'll ignore all of your products for the rest of the year.
Yes.
I mention every year and then lots of women go, oh yes, this happens to me too. So yeah, but it was our day of we get allowed to self-promote a lot. So I got lots of new Twitter followers. So
me
that
too,
was my gift. Oh yes.
Yeah, it was nice. I was like, oh, hello. So being a female and making femme presenting miniatures almost exclusively, because we do have Dracula in there and some other
Charles.
Sergey. It can be quite a challenge in wargaming. Why do you do it? Why put yourself through that?
I don't know. To be honest, there have been some really tough moments. There've been quite a few times where I have very seriously gone, why am I doing this? Again, I don't want to go too much into it, but as you know, being woman, being on the internet, being in a male industry, sometimes not the best of fun. But I just love messages from people tend to just give me that like, this is why I do it. Because I want to get more women into the hobby. I want to make it generally just more diverse. Women's the angle I'm going at because that's the angle I'm coming from. But yeah, in general, just to get more and more different people into the hobby and to get more young girls into the hobby, partly because I was a young girl into the hobby and everyone thought I was a massive weirdo, and I didn't even know like of any women in that hobby at all. Like I'd open my White Dwarf and it'd have all of the people and they'd all be blokes. I do remember at one point I opened it and there was a woman with red hair and I was like, oh, this is so cool. So I do it for that. I get a lot of people send really nice messages. I got one last week that from a World War II reenactor who said, wow, I didn't even know this stuff existed. I thought this was all just stuff for the lads and I'm so excited, and ordered some stuff. And people send me pictures of their kids with their first mini that they've painted. Like, yes. And that's just really cool. And that totally is why I do it. And also it's become a whole other hobby now of just educating people about cool women from history. So I've kind of made my dream job. There's obviously lots of very unpleasant parts of it, and it's not a breeze. I work my ass off. But it's definitely worth it. I'm really, really happy about how Bad Squid has been going.
One of my favorite things is when I've like worked with you on like stands for shows, and like you see like little girls like pulling their parents over, like, Mom, look at this one, look at this one. And you're just like, yes, come on. And I was wearing the last one we did together at Hammerhead, and I was wearing my t-shirt with the rainbow that says "Sounds gay, I'm in." And there was this girl, like 11, and she came up to me. She just said, "I love your t-shirt. I feel so seen." And I was just like, oh, come look at our miniatures. This one's gay.
No, this is so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, that just makes me so happy. Yeah. And I'd like to think again. I like to think as if I'm not me, like in parallel universe land, where I'm still hobbying, and Annie's someone else that set this up. I think if I would come across my stand and my company, I would lose my mind. So that's a good indicator as well. I would just be like, whoa, where do I even start? I've done that a few times. Theoretically, I'm like, what would I buy? I have £20. What would I buy on the Bad Squiddo stand?
That's often what I'm like. What can I add to the pile of things that I still haven't painted yet? I will paint. March was going to be my Paint Annie's Miniatures month, but I haven't picked up a brush yet. I've still got time.
Got time.
So, Major Threat Miniatures, and also me. So I was about to ask this question as well. Where do you see Bad Squiddo in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? What is the goal, the plan?
Well, it was kind of just to stay in business, but it's been long enough now that appears to be a thing. Because I was really unsure when I set this up. This was just going to be a bit of an idea, and would it take off? And it's been 6 years, so it's definitely taking off. There's the stat, I can't remember exactly what it is, about it's like most businesses fail in the first year, and then of that, the rest of them fail by year 5. So I'm like, year 6, yes, going into year 7. So I guess I should have more plans now. I want to build the retail, so I want to get more retail shops, get more shops around the world, especially now with Brexit that we're cut off a bit. I want to get loads more EU shops, get an EU distributor, sort of just get these in your bricks and mortar, get them into the faces of people that wouldn't necessarily see them. Because sometimes I feel like, well, everyone knows who I am now, and it's not. It's just the bubble of this particular part of the internet. So I'm always trying to stretch out of that. So bricks and mortar shops are where you know, people stroll in looking for some Warhammer, and then they're like, what's that? Oh, which has been me in the past. When I first went into a hobby shop that sold things other than Warhammer, I'm just like, and there's these, and there's these. Oh my words. I remember seeing Raging Heroes when they had, it was like some elf princess really early on in their company. Just being like, whoa, you can get an elf princess that's different to a Warhammer one, and seeing the knights from Fireforge, and the main bit being so excited when I found the Vikings from Grip and Beast, and then my brain finally discovering the difference between GW and other companies and being like, you get 44 people for £22. What is this? It's just like, phew. So I want my products to be in that sort of like people going, whoa, all this stuff, and especially with all like the lady stuff. I am going to need some like proper staff at some point, because I have most of what we do is like work with so many people, but it's all freelance and contract. At some point, I will have someone doing all of the lesser fun stuff. It's always a bit of a juggle, because it's that juggle of, if I pay someone, they're going to be making more money than I am. And I can't afford to pay them yet. So I'm still working myself into the ground, but I'm getting a lot better at outsourcing smaller tasks. But yeah, I'm hoping, I don't know exactly when, between the 5 and 10 years, there'll be a Bad Squiddo team. And that would be really nice. And I'd have more time to spend on actually researching and designing the miniatures and doing less of the boring paperworky stuff. Oh, an admin assistant. That'd be so good. That is the dream. That's the dream. And a masseuse.
With the tax office.
I did decide that if I was ever a celebrity, you know, they have the entourage. The first member of my entourage would be a masseuse. Probably different to just like having a company, but like a Bad Squiddo masseuse that's just sort of like chilling until they're called up. Masseuse, quick! Someone was mean in the comments. It's okay, Annie. It's okay.
They don't know what they're talking about.
So yeah, I want us to obviously keep growing, but also not just spontaneously growing, but in a planned way. Get some box sets. I would love to do some plastic miniatures. Kind of wait until the biodegradable is a bit more standard though, because that would make me feel less bad. But I've got a plan that's fairly developed now from being just a pie in the sky to this is going to be my plastic box set. Part of that is vanity, because it feels like you're not in the big boy club till you got plastic box set. So I'd be like, taking me seriously now. I've got a box set of like Bad Squiddo, that'll never last. Check out my plastic box set. I have 20,000 of them. I got 20,000 box sets. Please buy them. Please buy them. Because that's obviously a whole other thing. They cost loads to make, and you have to buy so many that would be really scary. But I believe that can be done as well, so I'm excited about that. Just getting bigger, better, having people to do the admin for me.
Yes.
But I feel like hopefully this won't age badly. I feel like this will last for life. I just want to do Bad Squiddo things forever. Please play this when I've I don't know, held up a car park or something, going, I can't do it anymore. Why are the minis so small? Anyway, one stated as, I could do this forever. No, I absolutely love it. It's my dream job that I've somehow made, which is extra cool. So I'm didn't know what I wanted to do, so I made a dream job. And that involves guinea pigs. Guinea pigs, feminism, and wargaming. It's like, how have I done this? I don't know, but people are down for it, so I'll keep going, I guess. So yeah.
Speaking of guinea pigs.
Sorry, I just broke everyone's fight. They're my own pigs, and I love them so much. They're so cute. Put them back.
Okay, I'll bring them back. I'm sorry.
Put them back. Oh,
for anyone that's podcast, you can't see how cute these are, but if you join my Patreon, I'll put some pictures up for you. So join my Patreon.
They're so cute.
Yes. So that is your other passion.
I was lamenting earlier that no one ever asks me about guinea pigs. I do still want to find a guinea pig podcast so I can go on that and just talk guinea pigs. I love guinea pigs. They're so cute and soft, and they make funny noises, and they're really bad at surviving. So that makes them my favourite things. I like how useless they are. And they're just, I think everyone has some particular animal that they just absolutely love. And it's guinea pigs for me, birds for you. And I have 4 guinea pigs. I'm like, hello, I've got 4 guinea pigs. They're called Sponge and Karen and Carol and Nini. And they're all so fluffy and cute. I absolutely love them. So we try and incorporate guinea pigs. So it started as that was a bit of a tester. At first, I thought, let's do some guinea pig models. A couple of people in the industry, because that was back when I was relatively new, were like, guinea pig models? No one will buy those, you fool. Why are you wasting your money? Now, boom. So we have sold a lot of guinea pig models. I don't have a side thing. So what we do with those, it started off with £1. It's now £2 per pack. So £2 per pack of every guinea pig pack sold, the main guinea pig ones, because we now do loads of them, goes to Gleneath Guinea Pig Rescue, who is my favourite rescue, and she is so cool and who I want to be when I grow up. Susie is the best, and where I got most of my pigs from. So that's a lot. So we've raised quite a lot of money for her through that. And we've also then just started cheekily adding guinea pigs into the minis wherever I can. So there's there's a dwarf crossbow lady. It's got one on her shoulder with an eye patch. There's where are they they're hidden in the World War II. There's a little child with a box. We've got a pile of guinea pigs in a trench coat, which again, that was like, why am I like this? And then the sculptor actually managed to get my bad sketch perfect, and then people love it. I'm like, yes, people love what's in my head. Oh no, this can only go bad. So yeah, we have loads. We've got flying guinea pigs, we've got a capybara, and I love mixing that in. And as a an owner of guinea pigs. I'm in the vets all the time because they're always sick. They are so rubbish at living. But it means that every time a vet is awesome to me, I give them guinea pig models as well. They're not quite sure what to do with them. But it's like, here, you're always given flowers or chocolates, so have these small pewter guinea pigs. And I ran out when I had my old piglet leg that was in the vets a lot. Bless her. The leg. I'd run out of things to give the vet each time, so he ended up getting a Charles the Cappy cannon. And he was even more like, "Why do you keep giving me these things?" Like, that is interesting. But then told me about how he was also a vet for capybaras at the various zoos that have them. So whoa! So yeah. So I saw brought up there, someone mentioned the tiny pig being ridden by Pixie.
Yes,
that is, the guinea pig with battle armor ridden by Pixie. Yes. And that's also cool at shows when people are like, "Hey, it's this is my favorite. This is my new mini." We also get kids just like, "Dad, show her a picture of the guinea pigs that we've got." And he's like, I don't think the lady is interested. I'm like, "You think wrong. Get those pictures out. What are they called? Where did you get them from?" It's like, yes, just chat guinea pigs and feminism. I mean, minis, it's the best. Yes. It's very enthusiastic there.
So we had Pandemonium Miniatures, who is in chat, also asked on social media, of all the miniatures that you have released, which is your favourite and why?
Oh man.
Yep. Choose.
I was thinking about this yesterday as well. I could be biased and say Raging Annie because it's me. Raging Annie is the sci-fi me with a gun and a sword. And I don't have any guinea pigs on that yet, but she's cool as heck, and she's got a tutu on, which I think is really
cool. There's a chibi version as well.
And there's a chibi version. The original was sculpted by Kev White, who's one of my heroes, and that was the first time he'd sculpted for me. I was just like, yes. He's also doing some cool stuff at the moment, like Jean de Clisson, and the secret one. Oh yeah, that someone guessed on Andy's show last night. But to find out, you'd have to go to that and watch. So we've got a very cool mini coming from him soon. Of the rest of it, I love the little dioramas that I've got. So I've got loads of gay dioramas. So I've got the Noogie, which is the Amazon and dwarf going, "Oh, I got you," which is just like, who's made that before? Come on. And my heroine, where we've got the lady being rescued by the Shield Maiden. The dancers in World War II, they're just like working with them, those ideas of mine, and then Alan's sculpting. He just gets it perfectly, and the character in the faces, I think, so nice. So
yeah, I love
dioramas.
Always with their little chubby cheeks.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yes.
Definitely want to do loads more dioramas. They're one that costs. They're a bit of a risk because they cost more because it's per person. But they're just so good to do. So I know I'll never sell as many of those as say like Troops, but they're so cool. That's reminded me that I haven't done a Soviet diorama in my latest. Oh yeah, I did a mini diorama. I've got a nurse carrying a man, but yeah, the Soviets need their own. They need their own gay diorama, which is now with the main sculptor Alan. When we do a Kickstarter now, he'll always say, "So what's the gay diorama going to be, as is tradition?" So as is tradition, let me think about that. So I think that's really cool. And again, just that whole wider representation is ace.
That's the main reason that I backed the Amazon's Kickstarter. That like I was on the fence, like, oh well, I like some of these, but I don't war games, so why would I use these? and then the Noogie came out, and I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. This is what I'm gonna buy this, and then I'll buy that one, and that one as well. Yes, and I'll buy 2 of the Noogie actually because I really like it, and I want 2 of them, please, thank you.
I came up with that.
Pigs with the wings and all sorts.
I like that I came up with the Noogie at UK Game Expo when I was on the stand, and that's the Kickstarter. I was like occasionally checking my phone, going, the Kickstarter's going wild. I'm gonna have to have another stretch goal. What's it gonna be? I was like all weekend, like, this idea. And then once I figured it out, anyone who came to the stand, I'm like, thank you. Bind back my Kickstarter. Have some flyers. There's going to be a noogie going on. It's going to be all like that. And just
well done.
And again, from quite a specific idea, and then what Alan made out of it. It's like, how are you in my head, Alan? This is just like exactly what I wanted. So that's just so cool. So yeah, like the movement in them and all this just works perfectly.
Speaking of Kickstarters, have you got any news for us?
I've had the longest Kickstarter drought for ever. Well, since I started Kickstarter. It's been over a year since I've done a Kickstarter. What? Took a bit of a break. A bit of the pandemic, bit of Brexit. Thought, I'm going to hang off these for a bit. Have a chill. But now I'm back in the game. So
Now I need that extra strength.
I need the rush, man. So the 31st of March, which is soon, I need to prepare it. We will be doing a very short, our usual length. We like doing Wednesdays to Wednesdays. A short Kickstarter for the latest Soviet sculpts. There's about 34, 36, can't remember exactly, of them. They are largely winter Soviets, but there's some summer ones thrown in there, lots of new SMGs, some cool new characters. So like the nurse carrying the guy is a pose that I've ripped straight off Hacksaw Ridge because I just thought it looked really cool. But obviously it's a Soviet lady and she's like, because they did some crazy stuff, lifting like men way bigger than them off the battlefield. And one of the facts was that you've got to get the weapons. You're in trouble if you bring someone back, but you don't bring their weapons back because weapons cost money. So it's interesting getting all those little details in. So that'll be running from the 31st till whatever that next Wednesday is. So I haven't got that far yet. And it'll be short and sharp, few stretch goals, but not much. Just sort of like, here we go. And obviously some good deals, and I'll bundle in some deals with the existing Soviets. So that's going to give them a lot of love because that range hasn't been added to in a while because we're getting bigger and bigger. I'll end up really focusing on something and then realise a lot of time's passed since I've done the other bit. So in this time where we haven't been Kickstartering, I've kind of just been like, mini release here, mini release here, mini release here. And I'm like, my Soviets, right. It's time for more. So I'm really excited. These are some of the best models I've ever seen.
Excellent. Well,
I'm maybe biased, but they are so good. And they got fluffy hats.
Yay! So I think that about wraps things up. Unless anyone in chat has any more questions, I think we might be almost at the end. So, just in case any questions come in, I'm going to take this moment to thank my patrons. As I said earlier on in the podcast videocast, this has been made with love from my patrons who have been very, very good to me through my miniatures journey and to this point. So I would like to thank Timo, Tim, Brandon, Charlotte, Chris, Fenris Games, Ben, DC Bradshaw, David, Frankie, Gav Thorpe, Hanno, Louis, Bob, Paul, who is Pandemonium Miniatures, Richard, Silverglass, One Sick Bunny, and Antan for all of their love and support, especially in the last year through the pandemic. I had a really tough time last year, just trying to get motivated and everything, and they stuck by me, and that's awesome, and I love you all. If you would like to join the Patreon and get, a shout out on these things and also help towards building a cooler, better, awesomer web show and podcast, then please do pop along to my Patreon, throw £2 at me. You can pay a little bit more, and there's a little bit of a higher tier, which will, when we hit our goals, earn you like cool stickers and stuff as well. But that's a £6 tier. But if you just want to go in at £2, super awesome. I'd really appreciate it. If you can just show a little bit of love, you get some behind the scenes stuff. You get some like photos, and you see my like as I'm working out questions and things, and you get like first pick of like who I should be talking to and who I should be approaching next as well. So there are some perks to being a patron as well. And this will go out on podcast as well. on Monday. So I'm going to download the audio, make it into a podcast, and it will go up on Podbean, so you can listen to me and Annie talk in your ear. You know, try and fall asleep, have our beautiful voices there.
What a dream! Until I go, squeal, guinea pigs.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh, I was drifting off. I was drifting
we both squeaked at pigs. Yeah, I did see them notice. I was like, ouch to anyone wearing headphones. Yep, sorry about that. That's
they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
They are so beautiful.
We have one question, which is, any shows planned? It's difficult to know, but I have to ask.
You do. Good that you ask, Bruce. My show helper. Potentially. I haven't asked anyone to help at shows yet, but if you want to, Bruce, I saw you post that you're not working Salute this year, and I did reply with like, ha. Like, think so, eh? So I've kind of not mentally committed to any because I'm still just really unsure about everything. But apparently, I will be at UK Game Expo, which is the end of July. I think I'm still down for Colours, Warfare, basically all of the shows that are on in the autumn. I don't know, because I'm a bit anxious that they're all clustered together, because everyone sort of moved. Salute's in November now, I think. So there's kind of like from doing no shows for the last year to suddenly having loads, and in that sort of new world post-pandemic is, well, very anxiety-inducing. And I do feel awkward about asking anyone to come along, because I'm kind of like, hey, I know the pandemic's just over, but would you like to help me out on my stand where we're like loads of people crammed into a building? So I'm kind of just playing it by ear. But yeah, potentially there'll be Bad Squiddo at all those sort of winter shows. I'd hope so, because that means that things will be better, which everyone wants. But
and I'm happy to help out at some of those as well if you needed it. But not UK Games Expo, because I will be working that.
Yeah, I'll wave at you. Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. Kind of jammed in them all. Can't really back out of shows because of the way you kind of got your spot. So I'm a bit like, okay, I guess I'll go. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully.
And I'm going to leave you now with a lovely picture of the pigs. Oh, they're so lovely and cute and fluffy.
They like their hay.
Yay. So this has been a Small Scale Chatter, our very first ever miniatures community podcast, videocast, live here on Facebook and YouTube. It'll be available on podcast on Monday from Podbean. Check out my social media. Links are in the chat to get the link for that when I upload it. Thank you everyone for coming along and being cool and awesome and asking us questions and being just genuinely lovely. It was meant to be 30 minutes. It's been 52 minutes. This is just us being super casual, hanging out. So thank you everyone for being here and supporting cool people in miniatures. Yay! Thank you everyone. Bye.